Fort Yesterland. This is a themed Allan Herschell Little Dipper coaster at Yesterland Farms. It was the second coaster added to this park. Some have described it as a rough kiddie torture device. But is it that bad, or can I find enjoyment in its roughness? Find out in this review. Although only a few remain, the Allan Herschell Little Dipper model has been found in over 190 installations across the world, making it one of the most popular coasters ever built. For comparison, Boomerang's number in at 53 installations, and even the ever-popular FBF Visa spinners are only around 130 and, well, climbing. This is slightly inaccurate though, as similar but not identical models get listed as this coaster in the roller coaster database. The database seems to differentiate by saying a model with large flat turns for some. Thus, Yesterland Farms has two of these coasters, though Road Trip Coaster, with its large track and footprint, has a rather different layout and feel, and is likely more that large flat turn model. With production beginning around the 1950s, this model represents the third, fourth, and fifth oldest steel coasters operating in the world, and has proven popular with smaller parks in recent years as they can easily be purchased and relocated. Formerly, this coaster was called Range and had cow theming, but now Fort Yesterland has simple fort theming around the station, and Yesterland Farm seems to be investing in decent theming around the stations for their various coasters. Having a covered station is nice, and the fort looks simple. Other newer coasters at the park have slightly more elaborate stations, and that's okay. The main point of this queue is to hang various signs telling riders that this coaster is rough. The trains, though, offer solid theming as they got a repaint with Texas flags. And as someone from Texas, we have a lot of pride in our state, and the similarity of colors to the American flag should hopefully allow anyone to appreciate the pride that this coaster is trying to represent. The trains consist of a single lap bar that will be pushed down fairly tight. Ultimately, it doesn't give a lot of room if you're on the bigger side, as this ride will throw you around. Each car has a front and back, and it is worth noting the back seat of each car will significantly have less legroom. So, if you don't want your legs beat up, it may be wise to sit in the front of a car. Lines were minimal due to rain on my visit, so this coaster was almost always a walk-on, or a one-cycle wait at most. Despite the hatred that it gets from enthusiasts, this coaster is centrally located, and thus was by far the most popular coaster in the park during my visit. So, just how rough is this coaster? You will notice side padding on the right of the cars. This is to help brace you, as laterals will push you to the right of the cars on both turns. Then, the overall track is a bit bumpy, as it will bounce you around. But for me, I found the ride rather tolerable, especially after my first couple of rides. The overall airtime that you get helps alleviate some of the roughness, and you shouldn't be beaten up from other larger and intense rides at the park to cause the rough bouncing to aggravate a headache or anything like that. To me, this kind of roughness adds character and helps elevate this to a really unique coaster. Sure, I may be unique in this opinion, but I've had much rougher experiences on rides like Superman Krypton Coaster or Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger, both of which hurt me much more due to the strong positive G's and or whippy inversions that those coasters have. For Fort Yesterland, it's just some rough patches with strong laterals. This coaster starts off with a short and quick lift hill that leads into the first drop. This didn't do much for me as a drop, and mainly seemed an excuse to build up steam rather than be any type of decent kiddie drop. However, you'll low to the ground for a rather unbanked turn directly after this drop, which allows you to be pushed to the right side of the car with some pretty strong laterals. These aren't as good as some of my favorite lateral moments, like Speedy Mouse's Helix, but it's decent laterals. These are slightly distorted by how rough the coaster is here, as you'll be able to feel the train bouncing around, and you'll be bounced around a bit yourself. This combination seems to add a bit of unique character, but does take away from the experience of each trait, such as the laterals themselves. After this turn, you go over 2 small bunny hills, each of which gives a decent little pop, while being rough in various patches. The airtime helps alleviate some of the roughness, so it's much more of a feeling of getting tossed around instead of nice, true airtime. But for a kiddie coaster, I'll take this feeling for sure. However, with the way the trains buck you up, you will need to make sure you hold on and brace yourself appropriately as to not hurt yourself further. Finally, you have a final unbanked turn back into the station. With some of your speed bled off, this is not as bad as the first turn, but you will be again plastered to that right side of the train. With the roughness, it still is that weird mix that makes neither roughness nor laterals super special, but is enjoyable for what it is. Then you'll speed through the station and do 3 more laps. If you're braced well and comfortable, then you can enjoy your remaining laps. If you got squeezed in an uncomfortable position or otherwise are in pain, then you just gotta dig in and power through a couple more laps. After returning to the station, the attendants are super nice, and you can ask to go again if no one is in line, or even just move to another row. Even going out and around still should not take you too long. If you're looking to get many rides on this coaster, it should be pretty easy, and for 2023, this was my most ridden coaster. Overall, how good is Fort Yesterland? That will depend greatly on your tastes. For me, I rank this as an actual coaster since I really enjoyed some of its elements. And I rank it above most family coasters that I've been on. It ranks right below the unique shaking laterals of Black Hole Coaster at Dreamworld, and right above Impanina's skate ride at Vin Wonders Fuquoc, which didn't have much spinning, but I think that actually helped my overall enjoyment of that coaster. Doubtlessly, many will rank this coaster much, much lower, and this is the type of little coaster with character that I'd love to see at more parks, even if other people might not. How much do you love or hate this coaster? Let me know, and as always, Kapkun Krap.